This is the CJ3 Foundation, and I'm the director and founder, Eric Thomas. Give me your undivided patriotic attention as we're about to impart on you another story of service and sacrifice representing our mission, serving our nation's wounded heroes. We are operating in the land of the free because of the brave. Let's uphold our oath, leave no warrior left behind, and support our thin green, blue, and red lines. Why? Because this will defend. Uncle Sam and CJ3 want you. This is the CJ3 Foundation. Hey, how you doing this Sunday afternoon? It's CJ3 Actual. And, oh, shoot, we actually have another guest that I haven't had on before. He's the guy behind the scenes, Chris Anderson, our deputy director for the CJ3 program. What's going on, Chris?
Not too much, Eric, not too much. Hi to everybody out there.
It was nice. Every once in a while, Chris needs to get out of Maryland, where he lives and primary operates, and come down to Virginia so we can break bread and go get a good smoke. And so good to have you down as usual.
Thanks, Eric. Much appreciated. And Happy New Year, brother.
Yeah. It's been a long year, my friend.
Yeah, that it has. It's been a wild ride, you know. It's world seems to be falling apart the last 2 years, but at the same time, we've been blessed in many different ways.
Yeah. So, been a heck of a year for the foundation. The world's falling apart, and a lot of other things are not going right. But I can tell you, the foundation is moving forward, and man, I can't complain. We've had a successful year, and let's hope 2022 is going to be just as. But by the way, dig your new shirt. So these are our CJ3 mechanic shirts we're testing out. Wanted to try something a little different. Needed something else with a collar on it that we could wear around and sport. And so for Christmas present, all the board of directors got one, and we're trying them out to see if it's something we want to carry on in our line. I think it's going to work, actually.
This would have been nice back in the Army. You know,
I kind of like it. We might look like jailers, or I don't know what in these things, but yeah, the goal is ultimately these will be available. I just want to give the board something special as a small token of saying thanks to everybody. And so Junior, Doug, Chris, thank you from the foundation, and we'll wear these around for a little bit, and then ultimately they'll become available on the site. I will tell you, this is probably my new favorite, just because it's different, it's new. You can wear them casual, you can dress up a little bit and still wear them. So I kind of dig them.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I like collars. It's just, and I like having pockets. I mean, all those guys who always knew me, it's like I've always got stuff just crammed into my pockets. So for me, it's a nice change.
Well, and they're Dickies, so hopefully it means they're going to hold up a little while, and they're mechanic shirts, so they're meant to bump around. So anyway, that kind of brings up an interesting topic. Like I told you, Chris, it's not, we're not throwing anybody under the bus. We're not anything. At the end of the day, we had to part ways with our online vendor. All is good. A little stressful, but ultimately, as luck would have it, and everybody that knows me knows I'm a God-fearing man, so I'll call it some divine intervention maybe. We got a call from a friend that offered up some services of a shop that wants to come on board and take us on. So it looks like, although our online swag store is currently down, it'll be down only as long as it takes us to come back up on the new system. And so I think we've got some folks that are very law enforcement friendly, that's done a lot of work with local law enforcement in Wisconsin area, and they loved who we were, what we do. And when they, we had a meeting yesterday, when they saw what we needed and our mission, they were just excited to come on board. So that kind of goes to these things will come back up once that store comes up.
And
so
I think it's just, those of you out there who know me, I'm not really a people person. I'm really terminally shy, to be honest. It's tough, but I try to go things a lot alone, which I know for a lot of us is probably not the right answer, which is why this foundation actually means so much to me. And it just always amazes me how so many people have come from all walks of life when they hear about what we're trying to do, just to come out and say, hey, we want to be a part of this. We want to help out. How can we do things? And it's like you said, Eric, I don't know if God's got a plan for us or what, because it's just always amazes me how things just really seem to come about when you need it. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's been exciting. I mean, I will tell you, there's a lot of things that you couldn't make happen, I couldn't make happen, that just happened, and regardless of what you believe in or why or whatever, it's all happening for a reason. And the one thing I think we can all agree on is because we're on the right track, right? We're touching something in people's hearts and desires that they go, we want on board and we want a part of this. So kudos to the entire team and everybody that supports CJ3, because truthfully, you'll hear me say over and over again, one, Eric's not smart enough to do any of this. But number two is it takes partnerships, right? It's the partnerships with the private sector, with the government organizations, with the individuals that we have on board, that without them, we couldn't have done any of this. I mean, we wouldn't be anywhere close.
Really community.
So Chris, not to put you on the spot, okay, maybe a little. One, Chris not being a people person really by trade, most so you guys know, Chris's role as the deputy director is to basically do all the stuff I hate doing, but he does it well, and actually enjoys a lot of it. Chris and I have worked together for a number of years. We met in Korea. So we did time in Korea together. We did time in the desert together. We did time with a federal agency together. We've worked together a number of times. I keep Chris around because he knows all the skeletons in my closet, so I got to keep him close and vice versa. But no, truthfully, Chris is an enabler. Chris likes to jokingly say, I play the mayor role and I go out and grip and grin and shake hands and kiss babies, and he likes to do. Chris believes by death by 1,000 paper cuts. He can kill somebody in a heartbeat with a pen and a policy.
Yeah, and it's God, Eric, we've been together for more than 15 years now.
Long time.
And I've always been that support person, and I really like being the enabler role. I really, you don't hear this much from people. It's like, my calling has always been to be a professional staff guy. And I guess part of that is like, I never really ever want to lead a team. That's just not anything I wanted to ever do in my life. It's just, I kind of like be on my own. But what I really do want to be is, I love being a part of a team. And, it's just amazing how fulfilling that is. It's just, for me, that's just kind of being valued. It means a lot to me, brother. It really does.
So for the people listening, understand this, the way this came about, one, I told Chris that initially when this came about, one, as you guys know, I didn't want to start a charity. I wanted to help somebody else's charity, but I struggled to find that charity that subscribed to the value system that I believe in and the mission that I believed in, and that encompassed everything I wanted to do. So ultimately, this became the thing. Well, the very first call that I had to place was to Chris, because I didn't want to do it without one of my friends in, because if you can't do it with friends, then why even do it? And initially, Chris is pretty used to my calls of, I got this great idea, Chris. You got to come out and do this. And of course, Chris probably puts his head down and goes, oh, God, what now?
Yeah. It's probably more like Eeyore. Like, oh, no, I don't know, Eric.
But I'll give him credit. He doesn't fight most of the time. He had a lot of questions. But ultimately, a veteran problem we have, right, is it's easy to get into a hole. You and I were just talking about it at lunch, over the holidays with everything going on, and you get into yourself and get into your feels and get into, and the more you seclude yourself, the easier it is to continue and keep doing and all that stuff. And so, one, I knew it'd be good for Chris. Number two, me and Chris we love to work together, and we're phenomenal at it when we're together. It works out really well. And so initially, I'm sure when you got the call, you were probably like, I really don't need the extra work. I really don't need the...
Yeah, there's a lot of trepidation in there. I mean, it's just, I'll be honest with all of you. I'm selfish with my time. I think a lot of us would know that. And for all those who've worked with me, I've always had that philosophy. It's like, hey, do it right the first time, because I don't want to do it again. You know, let's move on kind of the next thing, or actually enjoy our time, or be able to focus on other things. But you know, this was important, and I know, like many of you, the holidays are just always rough on myself and my wife, and I know, like many of you others, I'm originally from Los Angeles and LA, San Diego area, and when I joined the military back in '97, I essentially cut ties with home. You know, I don't have any family out here. I've never had any family anywhere. Serving overseas, or even after I became a civilian, all my assignments have been out here on the East Coast.
We don't call anywhere home anymore.
No, we don't. You know, and certainly don't call DC a home. I'll tell you that.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's. I think, you know, we always dream of where we're going to go finally end up, and I think that's kind of important. Is a sense of community. It really becomes important, and I think everyone out here who's kind of served in the military or the law enforcement or first responder community is, you know, you end up having to follow your passion to your work, and you end up uprooting yourself from your neighborhoods and putting yourself down, and that's what service is about. It is sacrifice, and I think that a lot of folks just don't understand how much sacrifice that truly is. People would say, oh, you know, you have good jobs and this, and look what you've been able to do, but nobody actually wants to look at the cost and the toll it takes on the people. And, you know, it's affected me and worn me down over the years, and getting involved in things like that are really where I've found family again. And I think that's a treasure. It really is.
So one of the things is when I call Chris to ask him to come on board, and some of y'all may think I'm taking advantage of a friendship. Maybe I am a little bit. I don't know. But at the end of the day is I have probably about this many friends, 5 friends maybe, that I got a lot of acquaintances, but I got a couple of just really close people that I can rely on for every aspect of anything that I don't even have to explain, because they know me well enough that they already know what's going on, right? And so I couldn't do it without Chris, and I didn't want to do it without Chris. I knew, because I know Chris, that his initial blush would be he really didn't want to do it because it'd be work and but I also knew it would be good for him. Not that, it'd be good for you, not that you needed any other, but at the end of the day, you were happiest when you were an NCO taking care of troops.
Yeah.
And you and I were both senior NCOs together doing that. We had a blast doing it. And sometimes we need a nudge. And so I was hoping not to take advantage of you, but to give you that nudge and go, I need your help. And I did and I do. But also, I think to get you back out and doing it and getting back into some service that's positive, because government work isn't always positive.
That's not the truth. Yeah.
I thought it'd be good for you. And, the other side is the part that people don't understand about Chris is a pleaser. When he's going to do anything for his friends to make sure his friends are taken care of, and not to take advantage of that. But that was another thing that I knew if Chris believed in this, he'd come on board and be willing to do it. And so, like I said, I know initially you were probably like, oh man, not really feeling it, but yeah. I am glad you're on board, because what y'all don't know is Chris does all the background stuff, right? The stuff can I do? Sure. Takes me twice as long. I'm not as good at, but Chris knows policy, Chris knows paperwork, Chris knows all that stuff. So all the stuff you guys don't see, you wonder, some of y'all may wonder, Chris, that shows deputy director, but we don't see him very often. Well, Chris is a behind the scenes guy. Don't get me wrong. He supports me and shows up to events and does all of, whatever. But where he's most effective is writing policies and writing that, the core paperwork that nobody gets to see, that keeps us alive, keeps us compliant with IRS, keeps us compliant with the government, keeps us compliant with the state of Virginia. All that stuff that goes along with running the charity as a business, right? It's an incorporated business. It just happens to be a charity. All that stuff you guys don't get to see, the real hero behind all that, so I can continue going out being a good idea fairy. But no, you're doing it. And all I got to do is call and say, Chris, we got a deadline coming up on this thing. I need help. And he knocks it out of the park every time. And I can always rely on that. And so, publicly, thank you. And I am glad you're on board, 100%.
It's, I don't, maybe it's some modesty here. It's like none of this would happen without you. I mean, and that's something people need to understand, that any organization doesn't succeed without strong leadership, and vision. And it's funny things as we talking about, like in the military, it's always these mission, vision, goals. And I can't believe how important they've actually become. Just the further and further I've come, when you hear these when you're a lot younger, you're like, wow, well, who even needs these things? You're like, why do we even have like value statements or these kind of things to guide us along? But as times go by and as I've stumbled along and picked up and learned a few things and come to realize the importance of just these kind of things to keep it going. And by some quirk, it's, I might be the one guy who actually looks forward to doing his taxes every year for no other reason. It's like, I like literally getting in there and just looking at the things and working it out and realizing, no, that doesn't quite work. And maybe I missed my calling and should have gone to law school when I was younger. But
I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here, man.
That's true.
Glad you didn't.
But it's a real joy for me. It really is.
That's good. So realistically, we've been going, September was a year. September 16th, if I remember correctly, was a year. What's kind of your biggest thing? Like when you look at successes of the foundation, not of individuals, but of the foundation, what's kind of the thing that you go, well, damn?
Honestly, just the amount of so many of these organizations that we've seen, and it's amazing how many people told us, "Oh, it's going to take you forever to get your 501c3 status," and we sat down and just did the paperwork and got some advice, and people told us what to do, and we just put our noses to the books and did it, and got one question from the IRS, which was
formality.
The answer was already there actually, and we just kind of quoted back what we had, and it turned around, it was done. And I've talked to some other folks who have started or tried to start these kind of organizations, and they're still stymied by the paperwork, a year into it.
It's taken people 6 months to a year. We did it in 45 days.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy. When it came back, I was flabbergasted. I was like, I was not expecting it.
And once again, sitting here smoking a cigar, and some people cringe at it and whatever, but at the end of the day, going back to partnerships, we had legal support by a phenomenal lawyer who I met at the cigar store that was just very interested in what we wanted to do. And he, me and Chris, the one thing we've believed in our entire career is you may have people that'll write policy for you, you may have people that'll do all this stuff, but if you don't write it yourself, people don't understand your intent. So me and Chris believe in writing to the 90% solution, if not more, whatever, right? And so we take the initial stab at it voluntarily, even against better judgment of other folks. And we did that same thing with our stuff, and really left minimal for the legal advisor to go through. He was very thankful and all that. Yeah. It goes back to great partnership. He was extremely grateful for who we are and what we were trying to do. And then, he provided free service to us, which once again goes back to the partnership. I couldn't do it without. But very little he had to do for us.
Well, and it's amazing how much of the community, both locally and our friends out in Wisconsin, in Georgia, in Iowa, and all these other places who gave up their time to help us with a lot of stuff right at the very beginning. Yep. When this was more of a concept and trying to get it off the ground and help to shape things along. But more to the point is, they're all part of the organization, and they're all stakeholders, and they all gave something to it. And I think that's kind of a unique thing when we finally get everything up and running and polished and put out there, because there's a lot of work behind the scenes people don't see. It's a lot like an iceberg, and I think that's a lot of the success, and it's even carried the organization through some really trying times in the first year, because most things just don't survive the first year.
Well, keep this in mind also, for people that don't know. Chris, myself, Doug Jr., anybody that's on the team of CJ3, we don't get paid for what we do. every one of us made a conscientious decision. None of us are rich by any stretch of the imagination. We're comfortable, but it's important to all of us that that we're doing this because we believe in the mission. We don't get paid for what we do. 100% of what comes in goes right back out, and because of all that, we have very minimal overhead. To the point of, one, we have a platinum seal of transparency. Charities have basically the equivalent of a Better Business Bureau out there that looks at who you are, the information you put out, whether you're living up to that information, and your financials.
Yeah.
And we have a platinum seal of transparency for putting it out, and we basically have the equivalent of an A+ rating, right, by the Better Business Bureau. Yeah, that's what it's equivalent to, because our overhead's so minimal, and like I said, everything that comes in goes back out, because we live by the philosophy of, for every dollar we have to spend on, I don't care if it's pens, I don't care if it's shirts, I don't care, whatever it is, that's something that takes away from serving our recipients.
Well, and the power of being able to do that too is just, when people come to realize, when you go out there, it's like, no, this is a labor of love, right? Everything that gets poured into it by the members goes for the service, ultimately goes for the service aspect. It's like nobody makes money off this. If anything else, it's a real pain. It's really pain, right?
There's a saying, somebody said to us early on, me and Junior, our other board member, joke frequently. There's a saying that, start a charity, they say. It'll be fun, they say. Don't get me wrong. There are very rewarding and edifying moments, and we do have some fun. But I'm going to tell you, Chris can tell you this, the sheer number of hours, I've got a full-time job during the day. Chris, everybody on our board has a full-time job. Yeah, everything that, I guarantee this place, the CJ3 Foundation gets as much or more time. I don't know how. There's enough hours in the day. But it is a labor of love, because it is labor. It takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of requirements, and there's a lot of stress. I think most of the stress we have is leveraged upon ourselves to strive for perfection in what we do. Because we don't ever want to fail at anything we do, and the mission's that important. And so I think all the pressure we put on ourselves, but it's been a heck of a ride, I think. I think if I had to answer the question, my biggest thing is, and I've already alluded to it a couple times, is the partnership. I mean, man, we've had Cryptocoat, ADM, American Defense Manufacturing, and Vortec Optics providing a dozen weapons to us to be able to take veterans hunting. We've had partnerships with lawyers and with trademark and patent offices that didn't charge us for their services. Different local businesses that sponsor us and host events to help us make money because they believe in the mission, and that's their way of giving back. I mean, every time I turn around, we got new partnerships starting, and those have been the crux. Those have been the crutches that allow us to continue. They're holding us up, and they're allowing us to do what we do. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, we're a charity. We're a taking organization. Without partnerships, without donors, we can't do anything. We can't fulfill our mission. So that part is extremely humbling, because for whatever reason, something is grabbing a hold of them and going, support this mission. This is, we've got a couple churches behind us. We've got, that are regular donors. It's just amazing where these folks are coming from.
I mean, in many respects, the organization is like a lens. It's able to focus the outpouring from the community against a worthy cause, and that's really something. You just don't see that much anymore, especially sitting in a big city like DC. To see people actually say, "Well, I want to get on board and I want to help," and to actually do that and deliver, it's humbling. It really is.
So I think the other real neat thing is that pat ourselves on the back a little bit, and I don't, I can't give us all the credit, but it's interesting. So we've gone a year, and after a year, with the board of directors got together, and we looked back at the year and looked ahead at where we want to go and where we think we want to go and all that. The interesting thing about it is we put a lot of work into the very beginning stage of codifying who we are, and what we want to be. The neat thing is we've made minor course corrections because we're fallible. We're, you think something's going to work and you go, well, that was dumb. that wasn't.
I never saw that coming.
Right. So, oh, wow, that hurt. And it probably hurts our pride more than anything. But the core tenets of who we are and what we've done have not changed.
No, not at all.
We've kind of changed how we do some things, but the core tenets of everything have stayed the same, which I think is a testament to what we're trying to do. It's scratching an itch that exists that we may not have even totally realized was there.
Yeah.
We thought was there, but I think it's pretty cool. For new viewers, because I do it all the time, and I'll be interested in Chris doing it, because you guys can hear me say it all the time. Chris, you want to talk about the 3 initiatives? I mean, it doesn't have to be long and in-depth, but,
And yeah.
kind of what they are and what that kind of entails.
So, this is, we've kind of really had a deep thought on things, on where we've been starting, but it's advocacy, it's wellness.
Mental health and wellness.
Mental health and wellness, and service dogs, right? And it's kind of real looking at things like, hey, where can you get, I don't want to call it bang for the buck because that's just a wrong term, but kind of coming to realize like what are all individual strengths and weaknesses, and where can we really put a lot of emphasis and do some good from things.
Where can we have the biggest effect, really,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
I know from the advocacy piece, it's just, it's amazing from reaching out,
Let me say this though. Yeah. Advocacy, just so you guys know, we had these things ordered, and it doesn't change the importance level of any of them. I want to make sure people understand that everything we do is important, right? All missions we do, all the initiatives are important, but we've rearranged the order because of the magnitude and the effectiveness of each one, so people understand where probably our time goes to and which ones are having the biggest effect. So we've rearranged them from when we first started. What were they when we first started?
Service dogs, mental health and wellness, and advocacy.
Now what are they?
It's flipped. It's advocacy, mental health and wellness, and service dogs. Which
go back to, doesn't mean any or less important. Because I'm gonna tell you, first of all, as a guy with a service dogs are awesome. They're sexy. They are helping sell our organization, right? People love to see these dogs out and about. Yeah. But when we look in what affects more veterans, a policy we change up on the hill, or one veteran with a service dog, so we've rearranged it, but it doesn't lend any less importance to any of them. So talk about advocacy, man, because that's one that, truthfully, it's encompassing of a lot of things. However, if we're saying it's important, kind of what does that mean?
Well, I mean, to put things in perspective, it's why things have kind of flipped, because it's like on the advocacy piece, you can say is like, what can we do for the community as a whole, not so much an individual. And it's very hard to see what's a tangible result when you don't have an individual. Whereas when you go down into mental health and wellness and then service dogs, is you can see a direct benefit to an actual individual. But it's just not enough to deal with individuals. It's about really, hey, how can we change kind of this culture amongst federal, state, and local governments to actually help out these communities of service providers
as a whole. Right.
And that's what we're really trying to do, and have had some success in it. If anything, getting people with political power to kind of realize, hey, this is an issue, and it does need to be addressed, and to get them to kind of start slowly championing it. And it's a slow process, but I mean, it's amazing some of the things you've been able to do within around here to get folks to come on board at like government levels and saying, hey, what can we do, or what's your advice on this, or even consideration on like, this is what we're proposing. Can you have a look at it and say, does it actually fit the need or not? And those are the things that happen behind the scenes on the advocacy, that it's hard to share or really kind of let people know, but it's like that snowball trickling downhill. It's like by the time it actually gets out to impact people, it's an avalanche at that point.
So it's just an example of some things. So we have relationships with congressmen and senators from Iowa, from Virginia. We're working on some Wisconsin ones. I sit on Congresswoman Wexton's Cabinet of Veteran Affairs. Goes back to, you need to get involved. You want to make a change, get involved. Yes, I run a charity. Well, where can I use my voice? I can use the charity to be involved and work on policy and work on legislative changes. Because let's face it, you're not going to make a change at the VA hospital. You can send in complaints, you can send in, but at the end of the day, if you want to make a change, you got to do it policy level and all that. And so working with all that, and they've been phenomenal. The fact is, they looked at the value added by having us there, and our statistics and things we've accomplished over the year has shown for themselves. And so we've been invited to the table of a lot of these forums. In the state of Virginia, the state is paying for CJ3 Uber. So if our recipient needs to go somewhere when they're doing CJ3 functions or whatever, the state pays for their Uber. The state's looking at paying for service dog benefits for CJ3 members with service dogs living in the state of Virginia. In the absence of the federal government doing it, the state's looking at picking it up. We're going to try to replicate some of these things in Iowa, where our mental health facility is located. And it's also given Dr. Thomas, our doctor, the one that oversees the mental health wellness facility, she now has a stage and a forum using CJ3 where she's affected mental health changes across the state of Iowa using CJ3 as the background for and kind of some of the results we're getting out of what we're doing with our recipients there in Iowa. So that's kind of why advocacy, it's slow going. Like I said, it's hard to always brag about and show the results and be excited about, because they're not as sexy as a service dog. It's just not as easy to show.
Well, and I think that's an important one to highlight. It's just this kind of advocacy, especially within Iowa and with mental health. And I think this is a problem every state has, and that resources are always constrained. And it's very difficult to allot things or to know what to put resources against. And this kind of fight that the organization, really Eric, has been leading on here, has gotten so many people to look at it, and even to start making calls, because it's just not one voice alone. It's the community realizing, hey, we have a problem, and reaching out and saying, we want to see a shift on this.
And it's also getting, I'm a lifetime member of DAV, of the VFW, of IAVA, and all those, and I'm a participant in them. Why? Well, one, I believe in they're affecting change in their way, but also it's to get them on board. When I work with them, they're glad then to reciprocate and support what we're pushing legislatively and get behind that stuff. And so when the community comes together, that way you got a lot louder voice. Then there's some other things under advocacy. One of our recipients is terminally ill and was getting denied vocational rehab.
Crazy.
Right. And, bottom line is the VA, which should have never said it, but said basically he was dying anyway. So why get vocational rehab, which that's the last organization that should ever say such a thing.
And even being the policy wonk, looking at their own rules and saying, no, he's clearly entitled to this.
Right.
By law.
And so we got their senator and congressperson involved as a foundation and pushed this thing to the VA hospital and the VA director in Atlanta, and subsequently got the vocational rehab approved. And so what does that do? One, it not only helps that individual veteran that has a service dog and whatever, through us and is on our team, but hopefully we affected change so that doesn't happen to another veteran. And caused them to relook their processes and how broken that was and how it should never happen again. We also, under the advocacy piece now, I didn't know it was something we were taking on. It wasn't in the initial charter, but it became another way to help veterans. Under the advocacy piece is, as I alluded to, taking veterans out hunting.
Yeah.
We participate once a year with Wounded Vets of Southwest Georgia. We go down to Albany, Georgia area every year, and a dozen veterans go down, wounded vets go down there to hunt, to harvest deer and hogs. And so now we've got weapons that we can do that. We're trying to work on an Iowa one for next year, and a group had asked us if we could do one in Florida. So we will be doing some hunts, and I support some other groups as well. Friends that are with other groups that want us to come along and assist as well. So that's been another realm that just kind of falls into the advocacy piece.
Yeah.
How can we advocate and help out amongst the community?
Yeah. And, it just, by working with other groups with like-minded goals and basically saying, hey, this is what I can do to help you, and vice versa. It's just amazing. What's the old line from Army? Is it synchronicity, or I don't want to call it serendipity. That's the wrong word. But it's truly 1 + 1 = 4.
And to that point, a thing a lot of people will hear me say is, I'm not in competition with another charity. So amongst the charity community, there's a lot of competition because, let's face it, everybody's competing for the same donations and same dollars and same. So that's not me. I make it very well known that I'm not here to compete. It's not a measuring contest. It's not anything. At the end of the day, going back to the partnership, if I can partner and work with them, and I don't need to do everything. If I can do my 3 initiatives really well and then support other organizations and have a warm turnover to pass a recipient to, that's a success for CJ3 too. So, I'm not competing. All the board thinks the same way. We want to do the 3 things we do very well. And then everything else, if we've got partnerships and a Rolodex to go to and call somebody and say, this veteran really needs X, Y, and Z, but we know the people that can do it because of our relationships, we can get it done. That's still a success to us, success to our partner organization that can get it done. Everybody wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's at the end of I think everyone who's in this line of work and to get back to the community has a passion for something. And I think that's real key to even our success is like, hey, our passion is for this. We do this. Other organizations, and they're fantastic organizations, have a passion for doing that too. And this thing always works best when you can tell people, it's like, hey, thank you for sharing what your challenges are. And we, and just to be right up front is like, we can help you with this, but a lot of these other things that you may be struggling with or other folks, it's like, it's not within our wheelhouse. But we know somebody who is.
Yep.
Right. And that's kind of the key here is it's like, let me take you to somebody who really has a passion for this and can help you with your actual challenges. And I think that's been one of the real strengths of the organization over the last year is being this kind of non-threatening and community work. It's like, hey, we do this. These other folks do that. Let's celebrate them and help them to do their mission as well. And I think that, over the last year of working with many of these organizations is everyone's a little skeptical at first, but when you show, put your money where your mouth is and demonstrate that, no, we're in this together as a community, it goes a long way. And that's a big part of the advocacy piece is, we're not the end all, the be all for everyone, it's about community and getting people to the right folks for whatever their challenges.
And let me put this into perspective. Not only am I not competing, this charity's already grown bigger than Chris and I ever imagined or even really wanted it to, right? At the end of the day, we were trying to keep it about this big, and it's gotten about this big. That's a great problem to have. We're blessed, and we'll take it, and we'll move forward with it. But just to keep things on the level is, we never had expectations for it to be where it is, and to get the traction we've gotten within a year. Because most people think we've been around for the last 5 to 10 years, and when I tell them, "Oh yeah, September we hit a year," people are floored. I'm still floored when I look backwards.
Yeah,
I'm never content. I always want to move forward, but I'm floored at how much got accomplished.
But it's kind of geeking out on the policy side. It's just even when you're filing your annual paperwork for taxes, whether it be for the federal or state, there's levels that you hit, and the scrutiny obviously and rightfully so becomes more of an in-depth look, and then realizing how quickly it's like, God, we're really progressing fast through this. It's like most organizations never get to this milestone; they stay within this kind of area, and it's like, I think we were going to be comfortable being there, and it's just that just didn't turn out that way.
Wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, it wasn't in the cards.
So mental health and wellness. And so every one of our board members, Doug's getting ready to go. He's our newest board member, and he's getting ready to go with a recipient at the end of the month. Basically, it's just shy of a week in Iowa.
Yeah.
You get 4 months of therapy crammed into a week. It's a holistic approach.
Yep.
Kind of completely opposite of what a lot of us are used to. If you've either been to the VA or been to different places, not knocking the VA, that there's a place for what they do. It just, we got the opportunity because we're private sector to do a lot of research. We looked at NFL best practices, first responder community, law enforcement, all that stuff, best practices. We get to look at private sector best practices and kind of conglomerate what we saw that worked.
Yeah.
And basically what we have is when you go up there for that week, just shy of a week, you're getting the psychologist, a social worker, a chiropractor to work on your back, a gut health clinician to work on your gut health. All that stuff comes together. Do we claim we're going to heal you? No, man. Some people got decades of issues, right, that we're working on, and we don't claim we're going to heal you. But what, going back to the old adage, we're giving you tools for your rucksack, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, if we can get you healthy enough, get your spine on, so blood's flowing and things are working and your nerves are working, get all these things in your body working, then we can truly focus on the demons and those things. You can, one, focus on them, but number two is they're not going to overwhelm you because you've taken care of some of those other issues that are affecting you, right? They're a little more easier to deal with and to live with, or whatever we need to do at that point. So it's a holistic way of looking at it. It's not just the traditional talk therapy that a lot of people are used to.
No, and I think that's an important piece here, is kind of realizing that whatever your road is to increase mental health and wellness, at the end of the day, is like, if you don't maintain some kind of connection with your friends, your family, your community, your road back to health is going to be a very difficult one. And I think what we've kind of realized that, and what we've kind of been focusing on is like, hey, we're not here for like some really serious medical issues or those kind of things, but it's really tightly focused upon how do we help people to realize, hey, these are your challenges. Let's kind of look them in the face and realize what they are, and providing services that get you elevated enough to a level to get back on your feet and actually go out and engage.
Function in society
in society, right? And that's the real key. It's what's the old one? You can lead a horse to water, but it won't drink. In many respects, this, what we're doing with our mental health and wellness is like, we want to take those steps to get you to take a drink, right? Because it's from there. It's like, hey, are you well enough to be able to help yourself and to continue that road to wellness? That's the real key here, is getting people back on their feet to the point where it's like, hey, what are you going to do to help yourself? Because ultimately, if you're not willing to take care of yourself, and there's a point where some of us have been down there where it's like, I need that little push to get moving again. I'm in a rut.
And let me tell you this, all of us have been there. Yeah. So we're not talking out our butts. It is important for us. We've all asked to go through the process. We've all been through the process on our team, because we all have our issues as well. We got our demons, and so we don't just preach it. We live it. Yeah. We've been through it. Like I said, Chris was our last one to go through from our board. Right now, next the end of this month, Doug will be going with a recipient. Why? Because we got our issues to focus on that we need to work on some healing with, and how can we be more effective running this charity is we got to go through it as well, and work on us. And so we believe it in enough that we do it as well. I think that's an important statement to make. And I think one of the other cool things about this Iowa, so Our mental health facility is located in Albee, Iowa. Phenomenal little town of 4,500 people. Really neat town. The town's really embraced us. Going back to partnerships, we're almost a partner of the town, and we befriended and partnered with a lot of businesses there and a lot of individuals. And to the point when we go there, we'll shut the town square down and have an event on the town square. The town gifted us a historic home that's located right next to our mental health facility that we're renovating because it's a historic home / landmark that an early Governor Kendall of Iowa, used to live in. And one of the cool things about it is he used to help World War I veterans out of that home. Yeah. So isn't that kind of cool that here we are this many years later, continuing that mission of helping veterans.
Yeah, I mean, who would have known, when they came to offer it up to us, and then you look into it and you see that, Governor Kendall was, I think, the first piece of state legislation within Iowa for veterans of World War I specifically, and things. It's like, what an honor it is to be able to actually carry on that work that somebody did literally 100 years before we even, showed up.
Yep. No, really neat. And then we got a great partnership there with just a lot of the businesses. Jim Keller over at, why is the name eluding me?
I'm terrible with names.
Anyway, it's a phenomenal community. We love that our veterans go there, and they just, everywhere they go, they feel the love from that community. At the house, every time a CJ3 member or recipient shows up in town, there's a CJ3 flag that's raised up at the house underneath the American flag to represent that somebody's in town, and the town looks for that, and they look to embrace the individual or individuals that show up. So it's just a really neat experience.
Well, I mean, look at things too, like the Welcome Home Monument.
There you go. Welcome Home Soldier Monument. Yep.
Welcome Home Soldier Monument. Yep. It may not seem much to a lot of folks out there, but I cried when everyone who we've sent out there ends up getting put on that Welcome Home Soldier Monument, right? So
just for the people that don't know, Welcome Home Soldier Monument is this thing that it's in Albee, Iowa. It's representative of the different eras of soldiers, sailors, Marines, the whole thing, right? And I'm going to tell you, this thing's located in a town of 4,500 people. The reason that's relevant to me is this thing rivals some of the sites out here in the DC area, which is phenomenal. It's a gorgeous place, and within the monument they have a wall. And what Chris is talking about is we have a partnership with them, and at the time Jim Keller was the curator. He's now on the board, and as somebody else has taken over that role. But each one of our recipients and our members and our team members and all that, if they've served, they get their name on the wall there. And at first it was a little off-putting, the idea of it, because I was like, well, we're still alive. But you know what? The more I started thinking about it is, I'm alive, my service time is done. Why not be able to be memorialized for what I've done and what I've, and so it's touching, man. You go out and see that, and then they have a statue of a bugler up there that they turn on. It plays taps that you can hear clear across the memorial. Man, the Onion Ninjas, bro. If
you haven't been out there, take the time to go see it. If you're passing by there, I kid you not, this puts many national monuments to shame. It's crazy, You think it's like, oh, what's this? And when you go out there, you're like, my God. I mean, it really, it's incredible. It's just hard to really describe, and then to be a part of it. From this small community of 4,000 people, 4,500 people who have just kind of an outpouring for
Middle America, man. They support their troops.
More to the point is, it's kind of like to celebrate what it is to be part of the greater, American community and journey that we've all been on with our collective service. And
then finally, we have Service Dogs. We have contracted with Giuseppe Canine Services at Iron Ridge, Wisconsin. At the end of the day, what kind of started this was I was awarded a service dog from another organization, and I very much appreciate what they did, and I don't take anything away from what they did, but I thought there should be another piece, the mental health piece that goes with it, and so that's why how we started this thing. But I got Havoc, my service dog, Belgian Malinois, phenomenal dog, garners a lot of attention, and for the CJ3 Foundation, and truthfully, he's probably more popular than I'll ever be. But I didn't realize when I received him what a service dog would truly do. People can tell you, but you don't understand it. Chris can tell you, I got in a dark place for a while, and I was becoming a recluse and all that, and the dog really helped me out of that. And so it was important to continue that. And Giuseppe Canine Services was the one that trained Havoc, and so they did a good job with him, and we thought, let's continue that relationship. And so these guys, yeah, they continue training our service dogs, and we continue to find veterans that need that, as Chris was talking about, that extra push, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be the mental health piece, whether it be a dog, whether it be whatever it takes to get that veteran or that recipient functional again within society and all that. It's another awesome piece. Truthfully, it's probably the sexiest piece because everybody loves these dogs, and they're the capabilities of these dogs are just phenomenal, and what they do for the service members and other recipients, just crazy. But yeah, we appreciate that group out there because they've done some phenomenal work for us. But I will tell you this, the one thing we do is everybody, and this is not hit on any of the pieces, everybody gets mental health and wellness. If you apply to get services from us, we all have our issues. If you've been to war, if you've been in, you've come back with issues, right? Whether you acknowledge them, whether you've hidden them, whether you've compartmentalized them, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we all come back with our own demons. Yeah. So everybody gets mental health and wellness. I will tell you this, and it's a hard job, probably harder than I thought it was going to be. Not everybody gets a service dog or needs, or there's a lot of people that want a service dog. Doesn't mean you need one or should have one, or there's a lot of things that go into that, a whole application process. Bottom line is, if you think our services will work for you, go on our website and apply. At the end of the day, our board members look over it, our social worker, our psychologist, all of them look at our packets, and we make the decision from there. So we're not asking you to apply for what you think you need. We're just asking you to apply for assistance. Don't try to specify what that assistance is. We'll help you with that. Allow the capable hands of the folks. We've been doing this long enough where we've worked through a lot of just any kind of issues. We've run into issues throughout the process, work kinks out and all that stuff. At the end of the day, we got a pretty good process, and we've got a pretty good handle on it. But everybody gets mental health and wellness. Not everybody gets a service dog. Yeah. That's a misnomer. I need to make sure it's out there.
And I think just having gone through this for the last year, because I didn't know anything when we first got into this, but a service dog, they're amazing. They really are. I mean, what they can do for people is, and when you see them at work, it's like wow. But they address very, very specific issues. And you've got to be in a place where you can care for that dog and be able to bond with it, and realize that if a service dog, when used to its full potential, means that animal is your companion for life, and they're there for everything with you, whether you want them there or not. They need to be there for you, and that's a level of commitment not everyone is ready for, nor do they need.
Yep. Right? Well, and there's a difference. So just for the community, so there's emotional support dogs and there's service dogs. Service dogs come with all the rights that basically a wheelchair comes with, right? Yeah. But the only time somebody can deny you entrance somewhere with a service dog is when it presents a hazard issue. I.e., if you work in a kitchen, you can't really have a service dog working there because of health reasons, right, and things like that. But other than that, they come with basically the same rights as a wheelchair. And like Chris said, it's a very specific community that needs a service dog. Emotional support dogs, I'll fully admit right now, we don't do those. I do have organizations that do, and I'll gladly recommend people to them. We never just deny somebody and say, we always do that one other. Well, you didn't qualify, and here's why, but here's another group we think that can help you. But the other side is emotional support dogs do not come with all the same rights as a service dog does.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to the whole mental health and wellness piece is helping people realize it's like, hey, first, before doing anything kind of drastic, is you really need to have an understanding of like what are your specific challenges, and what are you going to do to help yourself? What are you going to do? What's the commitment you're going to make to invest in yourself and to kind of go forward?
That's a good point, because the other side we tell people is it's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? There's some, or some of these other programs. First of all, we can't help you if you're not willing to help yourself yet. If you're not at that level, if you haven't, for lack of better words, if you haven't hit rock bottom yet and you're not ready, we can't do anything to help you either. And that may sound cold and callous, but at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you this. One, our list is longer than we have money and support to help, right? Yeah. That's just a fact of life. And that's not just us. That's any other organization. Number two is, let's just say alcohol, for instance. If you got an alcohol problem and you're looking at us to help, at the end of the day, one, I don't deal with alcohol issues. That's a specialty unto its own. But number two, if you're not willing to put the drink down, I can't provide these other services because it's counteractive, right? It's not going to work. And so, not to be callous, but I can't waste the charity's time and money if you're really not ready to be helped. Yeah. And that's a fact of life. Yeah. It's a hard fact. And it's broken my heart a couple of times because we've had to turn some folks down before because, they got other underlying issues that they're not willing to resolve, whether it's drug or alcohol or whatever. I can't help you yet. The other thing we don't do is we don't do crisis counseling. No. Suicide and that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong. We'll point you in the right direction. We don't do it not because we don't care, but we're not set up to do it. That takes 24-hour support. It takes a whole network. We are not set up to do it. And so I'm not willing to fail at it to try to intervene in that realm. And it's just not that's not our subject matter expertise. And so there's people that are out there. There's the Veteran Affairs Crisis Line and all those things. They do that. That's not us.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be fair to anyone out there who is a potential recipient to even say that we can. I mean, and unfortunately, there's a lot of really great meaning folks out there who mean well for you. But if you don't address your specific challenges with the right treatments, then it's just not going to work out well. Right? And I think that's kind of the key when we really want to look at it. And I think this comes from being, a couple of old senior NCOs with some hard conversations with folks. Call it tough love, or whatnot. It's uncomfortable conversations sometimes with folks to say, hey, these are your actual demons that you have to solve. This is the problem, not the symptom. And it's like maybe sometimes the best advice we can actually give for somebody is to get folks to realize what their actual challenges are and what are appropriate measures to fix them.
Now, on a bright note, I think one of the things that CJ3, what's made us successful is everybody that's gone through the program has remained on the team. Yeah. So we have a family, and so I don't think we can undercut that or underrate it. Yeah. In that, there's no expectations, no requirements of any of our recipients after they go through. We're just glad to be able to help. We don't leverage any kind of, hey, we got you a dog, so we expect, nope, we don't. But everybody that's gone through our process has come back and become part of the team and remains part of the team and supports or puts on events or just has been helpful in a myriad of ways. And so I think that's another therapeutic piece of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you now have a family, and let's face it, some of the things we miss most about our time serving, we miss that camaraderie.
Yeah. So. And I think that's when, you've really had some real success and impact in people's lives when they come back to you and say, hey, thank you, what can I do to help somebody else? Because ultimately that's what this is all about get yourself in a position where you can continue doing that service you've been doing for your community all along. Because sometimes we all hit that low in that point in these kind of communities where it's taxing. It's doing service on behalf of others takes a little bit away from you every time. And if you don't have any kind of a mechanism of recharging, your ability to continue with your own service becomes very difficult. And I think it's really nice to see that when these folks come back, when you've seen them at bottom, and they get the help from us and from others, and then to come back and say, hey, I'm invested. I want to do something too. Yep. And whether it's large or small is immaterial. It's the fact that people want to actually come back and do something and be of service to others. And that's really something. That's the whole community piece, I think, at the end of it that we're really trying to underscore here.
And because we're salespeople, because we have to be, because we run a charity, which falls on me more than probably it does Chris. He lets me do it, but because it's for the charity and not for me personally, it's a little easier. What can you do to help? So we have an Amazon Smile account. Costs you nothing to go on there and add CJ3 Foundation as your Amazon Smile account. I think it's 0.05% of all your purchases or whatever it is. Amazon writes us a check that, for 0.05% of all your purchases. Well, if enough people do that, it sounds minuscule and just nothing, but for everybody that does that, that adds up pretty quick, and it costs you absolutely nothing but a couple minutes to do. Buy our swag. We don't get a lot. We may make $5 a t-shirt out of it or something like that, but at the end of the day, it's good for branding. It gets our name out there. Number two is it's good for morale. It shows people you support the mission and the vision and what we're doing and who we are. Gets us a little bit of money. Go on Facebook, follow us, like us, watch the events we got coming up. Show up to the events and support. Do I want your money? Sure, because we're a charity. But at the end of the day, I want you to pass our information on to other people and have them follow and donate and find us some business partners and things like that. Because the more diversified we are, the bigger our group is and audience are, the less it puts on each individual and just helps us long term. I think that's the biggest thing I can say about that. You thought any ideas?
No, it's amazing how much it's people like you out there who have worked with us, have received help from CJ3 Foundation, our friends, our family, and our current partners and everyone else out there, just talking to their own community and getting engagement on this. It's amazing how many people that come out of the blue saying, hey, how can I get involved? And it's that constant engagement and advocacy for others, and that and that pouring in of resources from just the widest net possible is what allows us to provide these services to folks, right? And just couldn't do it without you, period.
So, 2022, what's something you want to see? Even if we can't, what's something you want to see?
Well, on the programmatic side, like you said, it's like getting all the tax documents done. I think we qualify for at least for the regional CFC this year, and kind of
you might have to
combined federal campaign, which is what federal government. I don't know if the states are involved in it.
I think it's federal, but
it's federal government.
We call it combined federal shakedown.
So, and those of you who've been in the federal government probably see the drives out there for giving, but it's important because
it's a level of validation.
It really is a level of validation getting on there. And it's amazing. It's like CFC, when you go in there's a report card about from the organizations, what actual percentage goes to the actual services as opposed to staff or director salaries or things like that. And
Which we excel. We excel at that.
It's the old one from Animal House on Mr. Plutarski, 0.0. That's exactly what we get as pay. Nothing. Right? It goes back to the services. But you can look a lot on there from CFC, and you realize in many cases it's very shocking how little actually goes back to people.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Do your homework before giving. That's a big thing. Yeah. So I think a lot of things are in the works. A lot of things just happen, truthfully, that I'd love to say I planned, and it's amazing. Chris and I talk probably once or twice a week, and every time we talk, there's something new that popped up that I'm going, hey, Chris, guess what? But like I said, trying to work with the state of Iowa. We want to do a hunt there on top of our Georgia hunt. Some folks down in Orlando have offered us to do an annual hunt down there, so that'd be 3 annual hunts if we can make it work. I think that would be about right if we can make that work. We do a couple we do a couple of trap shooting.
Yep.
Things,
Tuscarora Gun Club has
up
been
in
a wonderful
Maryland.
partner for us.
Yep. We've done a couple of those this year. We want to continue those. Matter of fact, Chris and I both bought guns because we may not be good, but at least we want to look good. So we're we enjoy that. We've developed some great partnerships out there. Just phenomenal people out there. Some of our recipients, we got one trying to put together a golf tournament.
Yep.
We got another one in Kentucky trying to put on a charity gun shoot out there. So we got one in Virginia wanting to do a golf tournament.
Yep.
So we've got a few things that we'd like to make regular. And the other thing is going back to partnership. If you got ideas like that, we're always open, always amenable to ideas of how can we get additional funding, additional branding out to get the name out, not to make us popular, but to get more visibility as to what we're doing and who we are.
Yeah. And I think, the great thing about this too is it's like, hey, this is an opportunity for you to get involved in your own communities to do these kind of things, right? It's amazing when it comes down to this line of work, when people realize, like, hey, what are you trying to do on behalf of this community? I've just always been flabbergasted how the gun club, Tuscarora Gun Club, these different hunting communities, golf courses, and other people who are like, yeah, what can we do to help? We want to get involved. We want to do this.
In oddity, I participate in the here in Loudoun County in Virginia. I participate in its monthly Cars and Cigars car shows. And that sounds insignificant at first, but when you think about it, it touches thousands of people each time they do one. And they've got a heart for veterans where they put our CJ3 F350 that's wrapped with our logos and stuff right in the middle of it, in the heart of it. They put us front and center every time to help brand, what we do and who we are. One of the oddball things that I'm doing is, in my personal time on my own side, I'm building a CJ3 Willie's Rat Rod that ultimately will have the charity stuff on it.
Yeah.
And it'll be going out to a lot of these things to support. Why? It sounds a little insignificant, but the more attention we garner for the charity and the more visibility we get and the more, truthfully, funds we get coming in and support we get coming in. So it's just one more attention getter to get people to look at who we are and what we're doing, and gives me the chance to talk to these groups. I'm literally talking to business groups and church groups, and I'm all over the place talking to these small government groups and things like that, bringing awareness, and they're shocked that it's in their backyard, and they're glad to get on board and support. And so it's, when people say get involved, it really does make a difference.
Yeah, we've never achieved what we had in this year if it weren't for the community. I mean, bottom line is, it's like everyone out there who's been a part of this, celebrate yourself. You're the ones who've made this happen. It's truly, truly humbling.
So, and then this year I'll try to take less selfies. I will try to make more people laugh on social media. I suck at social media. I need help. So if you're good at social media, feel free. Also, I think an important thing is feel free to tag CJ3. If you're doing something, you're wearing our swag or doing something on behalf of, I can't do it all. I'm a one-man band up here as far as that piece goes. And so feel free to tag the charity. I love nothing better than on Friday seeing people with all the Red Friday, the Remember Everyone Deployed Friday shirts being posted. I'm not gonna lie, man, it makes me smile, and it just kind of, there's a pride factor that goes, that's kind of cool. It's a movement within a movement. The Red Friday thing already exists, but seeing all the CJ3 Red Friday shirts out there and all that, I love seeing that every Friday. And so I don't care if you post every Friday. I love seeing that stuff. That stuff's cool. But other than that, man, this is Chris and I. Unfortunately, this is about what we do. Where we went out and broke bread. We're having a stick, and we'll just not talk about what's in the cups. This is us, and it's we get together like this probably once a month. You know, besides our calls, just one for he's my best friend, and so this is what we do for our sanity, and gives us a chance face to face to kind of gameplay where we're going and make course corrections and whatever. And you know, it just this is who we are, and love where we've come and love where we're going, and can't wait to see what's coming up, man. So, and by the way, we're wearing the same size shirt. Mine just fills out a little better. I had to say it right. So anyway, thanks for all you do, Chris, Doug, and Junior. Thank you for all you do. The rest of the team members, man, you guys don't know. I don't say it enough, and I'm humbled by the time you give and what you do and the value added you are. And you know, even if 2022 is not a great year, let's let it be a CJ3 22 great year, because it was a great year in 2021 for the foundation.
Yeah.
So, you know, if nothing else, we can take solace in that man,
Yeah.
we got a lot done. So anyway, this is CJ3 Actual and Deputy. Wishing y'all well. Take care.
God bless.